gave us that understanding that we can tell our own stories ourselves. The truth is, if we don't tell our stories by ourselves, other people will do it for us, and whatever they say about us is going to be like the truth. So even if it's not the truth, wherever in the world you're watching this from, how you doing, wherever you are in the world, welcome back to the positive moment. And my name is still Victoria. I have not changed my name. My name is Victoria, and this is the positive moment. Alright, so we have actually been discussing different topics on the positive moment, and today, the last time we actually did something on entertainment, right? Yeah, but today we are going to do something slightly close to entertainment, but just a little bit educational entertainment, right? Alright, if you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, kindly subscribe, and while you do that, click on the notification button right beside it in order to get notified every time we upload a new video. And don't just stop at that. Follow us on our Instagram. Yes, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Yeah, I know what you're about to say, but if you are not in Nigeria, some people have been in Nigeria but they are in Dubai, but they are in Nigeria. You get. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Snapchat, follow us on Tumblr. We are all over. We are taking over the social media space very soon. Just watch out. So follow us on all our social media outlets in order to not miss out of any of our content. At PME, at Positive Music Entertainment, and especially under the positive moments, we are so versatile. Like, we talk about different things and we do different things, from entertainment to education to social, anything, events. We are very dynamic. We are not static. So in order to not miss out of any of our content, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all our social media pages. Alright, let's go very quickly into today's business. So today I want to talk about 10 Nigerian texts that you should read. Yeah, and when I say text, that's actually a term that's very common to people who were either in the arts class or did something related to literature. Some people are familiar with storybook, but to some of us, we call it text and not storybooks. So I'm going to talk about 10 Nigerian texts that you should read. Yeah, and these 10 Nigerian texts are texts that I've actually read myself. Yeah, I'm familiar with them. I've read them myself. And it's not limited to people who are either studying literature or who are in art class or anything like that. It's not limited to them. It's something I think everybody should be familiar. And in fact, the text I'm going to be talking about are texts that a lot of people are familiar with. I'm going to take some people back to the memory lane. Yeah, some of you will remember where you're coming from. You remember that you have come across it at one time or the other. And some of you might actually go back to read about them after this. So the number one text I'll be talking about, yeah, before I go into that, I think I should give a background about literature, African literature, and writing in African. Let's talk about Nigeria. Let's not generalize. Normally, before Nigerians, before Africans begin to take up the challenge of writing, the Europeans were writing our stories for us. They were writing from their own perspective. They are writing out of what they think we are. They cannot, there's no way they want to write that they will write it the way it really is. They're only writing it from how they think it is, but it's not really like that. But there are some people who actually took up the challenge that, oh, we are Africans, we should tell our stories ourselves. We should talk about the things that are happening around us ourselves, not foreigners. Foreigners should not come and tell us our own story. We should be the one telling our stories to them by ourselves. And you know, someone like Chinua Achebe actually took up that challenge, and with his works from Things Fall Apart to No Longer at Ease to Aunties of the Savannah to Arrow of God and all of that, he actually gave us that understanding that we can tell our own stories ourselves. The truth is, if we don't tell our stories by ourselves, other people will do it for us, and whatever they say about us is going to be like the truth. So even if it's not the truth, it's going to be like the truth, because after all, we did not say anything about it. So we now as Africans have now grown to the stage where we tell our own stories by ourselves in our own way. We might actually be using English to write, but there's a way we domesticate English. Yeah, we can see Chinua Achebe and so many other writers doing that. Okay, so the first writer, the first text, the first storybook, or the first novel that I will be talking about is Things Fall Apart. I know a lot of people are familiar with that. Things Fall Apart was written in 1958 by Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe is a legend. He's a legend. I know this particular book has actually been made into a movie. Yeah. The attempt is to show you that we have really evolved as Africans, as Nigerians, when it comes to literary appreciation and writing and entertainment and all of that. So it was written in 1958, like I said, by Chinua Achebe, and the major subject matter was about accepting change over culture and tradition. So this was Chinua Achebe telling the African story to an African audience. You know, before that time it was the British telling an African story, or is that like they are telling an African story to a foreign audience, or they are telling an African story to African audience, but they were not Africans, so they could not really relate. But now this is an African man telling their African story to an African audience. And Things Fall Apart was widely accepted, even internationally. And this particular work of art has crossed the borders. That has been used for so many coursework. Let me put it that way. A lot of people have actually worked on Things Fall Apart. And till tomorrow, people will always refer to that novel, Things Fall Apart, by Chinua Achebe. So, like I said, accepting change over culture and tradition was majorly portrayed by Okonkwo. Okonkwo was the major character, in fact, the protagonist of that novel. So he was actually resisting political and religious changes over culture and tradition, and that is one of the major subject matter in that particular novel. So the second novel I'm going to talk about, well, this is actually coming from a contemporary writer. You know, Chinua Achebe is a legend, is more like the grandfather of African writers, you know, right? So now I'm going to talk about a contemporary writer. Yeah, she started publishing her works in the 2000s. Unlike Chinua Achebe, we are talking about 1968, all of that. But now this is a writer that started publishing her work in the 2000s. But since her first novel, since the debut of her first novel up to now, she has been consistent, and she has been giving us back to back, and her works are widely accepted, not just in Africa but all over the world. I'm talking about no other person than Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Yeah, she's someone familiar to a lot of people, and I'm actually talking about one of her novels, Half of a Yellow Sun. Although her first novel is Purple Hibiscus. Purple Hibiscus was her first novel, and it was published in 2003. White Half of a Yellow Sun was published in 2006, and it has won several awards and all of that. You know, Ngozi Adichie has become like an household name. Like everybody outside Nigeria, outside Africa, refer to her. They call her for interviews, they call her for talks, public speaking. She has been a valedictorian. She has had opportunity to talk to graduates at university, Yale University, Harvard University. She's just phenomenal like that. So this Half of a Yellow Sun is actually talking about the civil war experience in Nigeria. So this is another African telling the African story to an African audience. They're talking to us about our own history. The Half of a Yellow Sun is actually like a historical novel. Although it might not be like it was completely a true life story of one particular person, but the characters might not be real, but the event is real. The civil war is real, and it's you know, when you read that particular novel, for those of us who are very young and were not aware of the civil war, were not there, we did not witness it, did not experience it, but reading this book and some other books will actually give you an idea of what went down. And if you read this book, you would think again that, hey, can Nigeria survive another war? Seriously. So that's why we have to even read more of African texts. It's not every time that we will just be watching movie. Or sometimes let's read. Sometimes let's pick up African texts and read them. Yes, I know a lot of people read, but some people read more of Mills and Bones, Harlequin Romance, which other one? Francine Rivers. Yeah, I'm guilty of that. And so many others like that. But I think we should pick up this African book sometimes and read, because they're actually talking about us as a people, our history, where we are coming from, where we used to be before the colonial era, where we were during the colonial era, and where we were even post-colonial, and all of that. I think we should read more. We should read more African text. People read. I know a lot of people that read, but they don't read African literature. I think we should cultivate the habit of reading African literature. So I was saying that Half of a Yellow Sun is more about the Civil War, and it has been made into a movie. Yes, the movie was released in 2013, and it was starring Genevieve Enanji, John Boyega, and so many other star actors and actresses, both Hollywood and Nollywood. And it was a very interesting movie. Yeah, it was documenting what was written in the novel in pictures. It was also about politics in the post-colonial era in Africa and in Nigeria in particular, and it was also about women empowerment. You know, there's no way you read Chimamanda's work and you will not see a little bit of talking about women and women empowerment. So that's it about Half of a Yellow Sun. So the third novel I'll be talking about is Dizzy Angel by Gracie Osifo. This particular movie is about an how would I put it now? It's about a girl, a young girl that was she accused? No, accused is not the word. She was actually known to be an Ogbanje. You know what Ogbanje is? Yes. In the east, they call them Ogbanje, but in the west, in the southwest, we call them Abiku. And you know all these things are, all those myths and superstition are around them. At some point, it was looking like maybe they were assuming she was an Ogbanje, and she's really not an Ogbanje. But the way everything is, when you read that book, where the chief priest wanted her to go and pick where she parked her, because they used to say they have load that they park somewhere, and they have to go and pick the load and scatter the load and burn it or do something to it. And she was circling the place, or she got to a place and she took something, and she didn't even know what she was doing. So actually, she might actually be from the marine world and not even be aware of that. But you know, they said she had to marry the chief priest, this, that, and then she went to school. You know, education does a lot of things for us. Like, it has really helped us as Africans. It has opened our eyes to civilizations and all of that, because she went to school and she was exposed to the Christian religion and all of that, and she was able to resist with the help of principal and all of that, to resist marrying the chief priest. She would have married the chief priest that was old enough to be her father, although eventually she ended up marrying Moses, the son of the chief priest. Although that was like a plot twist, because Moses too left home and he became a better person. He went to school and all of that. So this angel was actually like detailing how our lives used to be before civilization, how a lot of girls had to suffer because they were presumed to be an ogbanje or something like that. They had to marry a particular person in order to sustain their life so that they will not die. Because when this girl did not marry the chief priest, she was afflicted with different kind of sicknesses. They wanted to kill her and all of that. So this is kind of letting us know that, okay, this is where we are coming from as a people, and civilization has really helped us to be able to move past all of this thing. So the novel of this angel was about myth, superstition, and Western education. The next on my list is Joys of Motherhood by Buchi Emechita. I'm particularly excited about this because Joys of Motherhood was one of my favorite books, one of my favorite texts when I was in secondary school. Like I can't remember how many times I read it. Well, I don't know why it was my favorite, because it's not like it really had something that was so intriguing and so, but I don't know, I just enjoyed reading that book. And I actually you know, if you are preparing for WAEC as a literature student, you know how it is. So I literally know everything to the point of even knowing conversations, because you know you have to read and read and read and read. Okay, so Buchi Emecheta, pardon me if I didn't pronounce that well. She is also the author of Second Class Citizen, where she actually wrote the book about a Nigerian woman who relocated abroad and how Nigerians are treated over there, how she had to struggle to get a job, how she has to manage and a worker and all of that. She's also the author of The Bride Price and several others. I wanted to say movie. The novel The Joys of Motherhood was written in 1979, and this book, like the others that I've mentioned, also has crossed the borders, and it has become an international book, and a lot of literature students even outside of Africa have been working on it, and it has been a course material for a lot of people. So Joys of Motherhood is majorly about traditions and customs, still talking about where we are coming from as a people. You know, it exposes us to the slavery tradition, where a chief died and he has to be buried with slaves and all of that, all those things. And it's also talking about reincarnation, because it was the mistress of Nwakaigo's father that reincarnated to be her, because she died during childbirth. And there were lots of superstitions in the novel. There were a lot of myths and all of that. And then it's also talking about wealth and women and feminism and all of that. So the next on my list is The Concubine by Elechi Amadi. The Concubine was written in 1966, and some of the major themes in the novel is myths. You know, if you have been looking at all the novels I've been talking about, myth and superstition have always been a major theme, and that is because as Africans, as a people, we believe so much in myth and superstition. So all these books actually, they are telling us stories of how we used to be and where we are right now, and some are even futuristic. So Elechi Amadi was actually talking to us about myth and superstition in The Concubine, also about death and widowhood. You know, the way women are treated after losing their husband and all of that. So death and superstition, and death and widowhood. So the next on my list is The People of the City by Cyprian Ekwesi. The People of the City was written in 1963. And you know, Cyprian Ekwesi is one of the, should I say, founding fathers now of African literature. He was one of the very first writers that were recognized in Africa. You know, some of the writers that were recognized in those early days, we have Chinua Achebe, Cyprian Ekwesi, Amos Tutuola, and all of them like that. So the novel was written in 1963, and it was about European and colonial dominance. That was what it was all about. So the next on my list is, now this particular one. It's actually, how will I put it now? I don't want to use the word legend. I'm looking for another word that is more than legend. Okay, so this next one is okay. The next one is The Palm Wine Drinkard by Amos Tutuola, and it was written in 1952. You know, that particular novel is the first novel in Nigeria. Yeah, the first novel written by an African. So this novel, if you read it now, it might not really make a lot of sense to you, because there is so many exaggeration in that particular novel. They made use of hyperboles and all those stuff. So Amos Tutuola's The Palm Wine Drinkard was majorly about travel and again superstition and myths, and it also shows the Yoruba culture. And if you are familiar with European literature, you should be familiar with Gulliver's Travel. Yeah, so that's similar to what Amos Tutuola did in The Palm Wine Drinkard. And The Palm Wine Drinkard has been enacted as a stage play on several occasions in different cultures. And he actually used D.O. Fagunwa style. You know, D.O. Fagunwa is a renowned writer in Nigeria. He was a Yoruba writer before his death. He basically writes in Yoruba, and he always writes about his experience in the forest as a hunter and all of that, meeting different kind of creatures and all those Ebora and all of those things. So that was the kind of things that Amos Tutuola also did in The Palm Wine Drinkard. Those were the kind of things he was trying to portray, all those creatures and all of that, the supernatural. Yeah, the novel was more about metaphysical creatures, supernatural things, and things that are out of this world. So that's it about that. And the next one I want to talk about is Furu by Flora Onwakpa. And Furu was written in 1966, and it was majorly about marriage, superstition again, and culture and tradition. So if you can see now that African literature is always more about culture, tradition, superstition, myths, and all of that. I've said it before, I'm saying it again, you should read more of African literature in order to understand where we are really coming from as a people. So the next one I want to talk about is Kongi's Harvest by Wole Soyinka, written in 1965. You know, Kongi's Harvest has actually been acted to on stage several times in different cultures. Wole Soyinka is a renowned writer in Nigeria, in Africa, all over the world. He won the Nobel Laureate Prize and all of that. Yeah, and he's also the author of The Trial of Brother Ajaero, The Beatification of Various Boys. There are so many of his work, The Death and the King's Husband, and in fact, you can mention them in the comment section too if you know some of his works. So Kongi's Harvest was majorly about corruption, statesmanship, and devious human frailties. Yeah, the next one, which is the second to the last, Okay, they said it's not second to the last. Second is the last but one. English will not kill us. So the last but one novel I want to talk about is also a contemporary text written by a contemporary author. You know, the first contemporary author I spoke about was Chimamanda. So now I have another contemporary author, and I am talking about no other person than Lola Shonenyi, and I am talking about The Secret Lives of Baba Shegi's Wife. You know, this particular novel too is a very interesting novel. It's a contemporary novel. Yeah, it is actually set in the modern day African Nigerian modern day Nigerian setting, and it's about a man who is an illiterate who got married to several wives. I'm not going to give you details of that novel, but if you can lay your hands on The Secret Lives of Baba Shegi's Wife, you should, and I'm very sure you will not regret it. You will love the book, because it actually exposed a lot of things that are going on in a lot of families. So let's not go there. The central theme of that novel is sexuality, mental health, greed, feminism, and difficult choices that women are forced to make in all those things, because they just have to do it because they don't have a choice. If they don't do it, people are still going to talk, people are going to castigate them, people are going to drag them. You know how it is. When you read that novel, you understand better. Now the last on my list is The Girls Are Not to Blame, written by Yolarotimi. Yeah, I'm very sure is a very familiar text, and it was written in 1968. You know, The Girls Are Not to Blame has also been acted on stage, and not just on stage, it has been translated into a movie. And in fact, if you used to be a fan of Super Story by Wale Adenuga Productions, like I used to be, you will have seen this particular book, this particular text, as one of the series on Super Story, The Girls Are Not to Blame, and it was really acted in details. So yeah, you remember Odewale, you remember Ojola, and all of them. This text is actually focused on betrayal, disobedience, faith, majorly faith. Faith is the central theme in that text. Incest and ignorance too. Alright, so there are other writers too, apart from the ones I've mentioned. There are other writers. We have Femi Osofison, we have Ben Okri, we have Zainab Akali, we have Niyi Oshundare, we have J.P. Clark, we have Mabe Shegun, we have Christopher Okigbo, we have Ken Sarowiwa, we have Sefia Hatta. In fact, we have so many writers in Nigeria, in Africa, that are actually taking Africa to another level. They're actually presenting our stories even to foreign readers, and when they see our story, when they read them, when they hear them, they're able to see us in another light, and not in the same way that those foreigners were trying to portray us to be who we are really not. But now, as Africans, we now have the global platform, thanks to a lot of these 4 writers, the Chinua Achebe crew, and I love what Chimamanda is doing right now, and a lot of them like that. Thanks to them, they're not able to see us the way we really are. Positive Moment is sponsored by the Positive Music Entertainment. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on all our social media platforms, in order not to miss out of any of our amazing content. And you know what? PME Music is open to do business with you anytime, any day. We are just a DM away. Alright, I still remain Victoria, and until we meet next time, we're going to see, okay, till you see me again or till you hear me again, I still